Hello everybody, it's Ian Lives, and welcome back to another YouTube video, another episode of Hollow Binge, another horror movie review. Now this one has been on my watch list for ever. It's been on there forever. It's been recommended to me countless amounts of time. It's been talked about countless amounts of times. I remember seeing the poster art on the DVD in video stores, the girls who are all huddled up making the skull. Of course, I'm talking about The Descent. This movie always interested me, but not enough to where I wanted to check it out. The concept of these girls going in this cave to go on this little trip where they explore this cavern wasn't interesting to me. Little did I know how far this movie actually went. And let's just say I'm punching myself right now for just now seeing this thing. Starting off with the basic plot of the movie. So basically you follow this girl who has just recently been in a traumatic accident, a car accident that took her husband, boyfriend, whatever, took his life. So she's still kind of recovering from that. And she was in this friend group of girls who used to go on these trips, do adventures, go boat riding, do all these fun little things, live life. And they stopped after the accident happened. Basically, the movie then follows them after everything happened, and they are just now regrouping together to plan this huge adventure trip where they go to this cavern and they explore it. And let's just say that the movie takes some twists and turns that I'm not going to get into because I don't know if it's considered spoilers or not. I didn't know about it, so I'm not going to talk about it. Moving into my pros kind of touches on what I was just talking about. I didn't know where this movie was going to go. I thought it was just going to be these people in this cavern that get trapped or whatever, and then the second half goes in a completely different direction that I wasn't expecting, and it really shocked me, and I enjoyed it a lot. There's two ways that whole twist of the movie could have went. It could have went good to where it's unique, it's different, and it really pays off and they really utilize it. Or it could have been kind of like a gimmick to where they kind of felt forced, but it didn't feel forced at all. I really like how they included the whole second half twist, how it goes in a completely different direction that I thought about ooh, that would be a cool direction, but I doubt they're going to go there. And then they actually went there, and it shocked me. Especially for a movie that came out in 2005. I just talked about this in my Cuckoo review, but I love horror movies that pose as something else and go in a completely different direction. And in that review, I brought up Barbarian. I'm going to bring it up once again. This is literally Barbarian before Barbarian. It's crazy how similar it is. Barbarian had to have been inspired by this movie. The plot and the setting is very different, but the actual content that you get, very similar, in my opinion. Especially how it poses as something and completely switches up. Another thing I enjoyed were the atmosphere, the scenery, and everything. I mean, of course, you're stuck in this cavern, and at points you might think that it's limiting, or they might not do much with it, but there are some amazing set pieces and scenes in here that are not only nerve-wracking, but very unique. A lot of it has to do with the cinematography. The panning shots in here are incredible. The way that the screen is framed, there's a lot of shots in here that are super far away to where you really get to experience what they're experiencing. The scene that really affected me was toward the beginning when they're trying to cross that huge cliff thing that just goes all the way down. I'm terrified of heights, so that one really affected me, and it was really well shot, and that, I think, added on a huge layer of fear for me. And, again, with that shot, you get several faraway shots of them crossing this line, and it was really well done. So I have to give it up to that. The atmosphere was it was scary. There's a lot of good scares in here. I got jump scared a few times. Jump scares don't ever work on me, and there's some in here that were pretty good. There's one toward the beginning that was a hallucination dream sequence that just shocked me. I wasn't expecting it at all. And again, stuff like that usually doesn't work on me. Another thing I enjoyed was, again, kind of touching on something I already talked about, but I loved how edge of your seat, nail biting. I was literally biting my nails. I'm not kidding. I'm not trying to sound corny. I literally was. Anxiety inducing, edge of your seat, heart racing. This movie it embodies all of the emotions. There's some funny dialogue. There's some sad dialogue. There's some sad moments. There's some horrifying moments. There's some horrifying scenes. There's some horrifying dialogue. There's this movie just has everything bottled up into one. You're going to feel a lot of freaking emotions in this movie. I mean, it's all the fears you're going to get. Height, drowning, suffocating, claustrophobia, all of that is in here. And I think it all meshes very well. Again, didn't feel forced, which I think is a really hard thing to do. You would think that piling all these things onto each other in one movie would maybe feel overstuffed or forced, like they're trying to prove a point, like they're trying to make a unique movie. But this movie actually pushes the boundary and does a damn good job at doing so. And that's just another example. The different emotions that you experience. Another thing I love is it made sense when I checked who the director was. This is the same director that did Dog Soldiers, which, to be completely honest, I don't love Dog Soldiers nearly as much as other people do. People rave that movie, saying it's one of the best werewolf movies ever. To me, the gimmick, the plot, wore off within the first 25 minutes of actually seeing the creature, because it was just the same thing the whole movie. All of these people are fighting this werewolf thing. It's like Predator but with werewolves, and the gimmick just kind of got old and stale. This movie does that with its second half. Again, I'm not going to spoil, but let's just say that something happens and basically they're fighting said thing for the rest of the movie. But in this movie's case, it worked for some reason. And I can't really put my finger on why it worked. Maybe because it's hard to not spoil anything. Again, I don't know if it's a spoiler. I don't know if it was revealed in the trailers or anything. I had no idea, so I'm not going to say anything. You know what? I'm not going to say anything. I don't know why this one worked more than Dog Soldiers in the fear department, in the whole concept department, but the final 30 minutes, I would say you get an hour of what's going to happen, anxiety, people getting stuck in the cave, stuff happening in the cave, trying to figure out a way to get out of the cave, and then the final 30 minutes, I would say, maybe 50 minutes in, hard shifts into something completely different. Really puts the horror onto the movie, because I was kind of okay, this is a cool little thriller, and then it just gets horror, full on horror, which I really appreciated. Of course, why wouldn't I? But I forgot what I was gonna say. I completely forgot what I was gonna say. I completely forgot what I was even talking about. Oh yeah, the final act. Final act is batshit. It's crazy. It is so cool. Reminded me of the Evil Dead remake. That's how cool this movie's ending final act was. That final girl is a cool final girl. I'm not gonna say she's one of the best. She's definitely underrated. Talk about her in the Descent conversation. But in reality, is she technically the final girl? I don't really remember, which is going to go into my cons. I don't think I have any other things to praise this movie for. Moving on to my cons, one of the biggest cons for this movie for me, I don't know if it's just my brain. I don't know if I'm slow. I don't know if I have horrible ADHD, which I do. But I'm just saying, I don't know if that's why that this happened to me. These characters, I don't know if they were poorly written, I guess it would be poorly written, because I guess they wouldn't have enough personality. They all kind of merged for me, and it was hard figuring out who's who. I only knew one of them because, I'm not being racist or anything, she was Chinese. All the other ones were white girls. So it was hard to know who's who. It took me a minute, and it made a lot of the scenes confusing to me. because I'm like, okay, who's dying here? And like, how am I even gonna care if I don't really know which character is who? They all kind of acted the same. Again, besides the Chinese girl, I'm assuming she's Chinese, maybe not. Sorry. Her name was Juno. Only name of the group I remember as well. So maybe that was a poor character thing. But yeah, they all kind of blended and blurred for me, all the characters. Another thing that was kind of annoying, this movie is like really dark. I don't know if it was the service I watched on Prime. I don't know if it was the quality of the version I watched, but this movie was freaking dark. So when like the actual like climactic scenes are happening, it's just like a bunch of bodies moving around for me. It was so shadowy and dark. I get it. Makes it creepy. Makes it realistic, sure. Just crank it up just a little bit so I can actually see what the hell is going on. Just a little bit. And I honestly think those are my only two cons. The characters could have been written better. They could have had more personality to where they didn't blur. To where I actually know who's who. So I can root for somebody. So I know who's in peril. Also, the movie could be a little bit brighter. That was definitely a struggle. But overall, I'm giving The Descent like a 4.5 out of 5. I freaking love this thing. I know that you guys have all been telling me, The Descent, you have to watch it. Really good movie. Really good. Really good. One of the best 2000s horror movies. And I just kept writing it off. But yeah, I finally checked it out and I beat myself up for it because I freaking loved it. Heard the sequel sucks. Should I check it out? If you guys have enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, turn on the bell. If you guys have seen The Descent and like it or hate it, let me know your thoughts on it down below. Follow my Instagram at ianlives_ and follow my Letterboxd at wehateian. And I absolutely love you guys. Peace!